Hello, welcome to the Cup Night channel. My name is Shane, and this is Tarot the News, where I read a news article, usually probably about space or technology. I'm going to avoid politics. I don't want to get into all that. Plus, these concepts are just so much more interesting to me. So, yeah. Today, we're going to be reading about a severe solar storm disrupts communications, triggers auroras across the US. And this is happening as of today. Yeah, so I did read, it's not very long, and I did read the whole thing already. And there's some cool stuff in here, so we'll go over it together. But before we get started, I do want to just pull an archetype and a tarot card to see what the theme of the message from this article might be about. So let's get started. On the pre-shuffle, I did have the King on the bottom and the Knight of Wands on the bottom for the tarot. A force of nature. I just realized that phrase was on the bottom there. Yeah. So literally, that's what this article is about. The sun, solar flares, coronal mass ejections. So yeah, fiery energy coming through, definitely. The King is a very solar figure. So the sun coming through there. And yeah, Knight of Wands, wands are fire. So let's see what, oh, okay. Well, a lot flew out, but only one landed face up, and that was the box. The box. This is making me think the Matrix. Oh, also, the fault line was underneath that face up. So we'll keep those two. And then let's see what we get for the tarot. The fault line makes me think of a disconnection, which these solar storms can disrupt communications, as the title says. And they definitely did, as we will see as when we read this. And the box is making me think like our typical structures, you know, the things that hold up our daily life, our society. And it's like the fault line is representing this interruption of our structures, right? The things we rely on, the world that we rely on, in the way the systems that are set up are being disrupted. So yeah, there's this Uranus energy coming through, right? The great disruptor. In this case, the disruption is coming from the sun. And the sun represents ego and expression, self-identity, those kinds of things. Mezzy says hi. She's getting a little impatient. She wants me to take her on our walk, our daily long walks, which I am going to be doing right after this. So looking forward to that. All right, that's enough shuffling. Let's get a card here. The star. Hey, guess what the sun is? It is a star. Creativity. And the sun is creating some disruptions right now. Draw two more here. Four of Pentacles. This idea of the box coming through again. Four of Pentacles is like physical, foundational materials, right? So there's this idea of creative energy disrupting the status quo. That's what I'm picking up on. And then finally, more fire. King of Wands, leadership. Yeah, king, solar figure, right? Cool. So we are right on point with this. Justice is on the bottom. The sun is currently in Libra. So these massive energies coming from the sun is being colored through the influence of the constellation Libra. That's if you go by True Sky astrology, which is based on scientific observations of the sky. So I will show you. No. Let's see. Do this, turn off the atmosphere, make sure it's set to the current time. And look at that. There's the sun. So yeah, this is the current time. It is currently November 12th, and it's about 12:38. Yeah, and you can see the sun is directly in the middle of this box. Look at that. There's the box. Yeah, so the sun is in this box of the constellation of Libra, and it is sending these disruptions, right? These cracks in our communication systems towards us via solar flares. Okay, so this is very exciting to me. Before I go any further on the message, let's read some of the article, see what else wants to come through. So, a powerful solar storm struck Earth on November 12th, triggering widespread disruptions to communication systems and creating one of the most intense geomagnetic events in 2 decades. The British Geological Survey upgraded its forecast to the highest intensity level, warning that the storm could be one of the biggest storms we've seen in 20 years. The storm reached G4 severe levels globally, with local activity in the UK hitting G5, the maximum on the geomagnetic storm scale, and producing the largest geoelectric field recorded in the UK since monitoring began in 2012. Wow, so this is an unprecedented event, literally. Space weather forecasts from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration warned that the severe geomagnetic conditions could disrupt radio and GPS communications. So there's a disruption in communication, and guess what? Mercury is retrograde currently right now, which is all about disruptions in communication. So interesting that these events are coinciding with the Mercury retrograde. But yeah, it could disrupt radio and GPS communications, affect power grids, and interfere with satellite operations. Yeah. Triple blast from the sun. All right, let's keep going. The storm resulted from 3 coronal mass ejections launched from sunspot AR4274 between November 9th and 11th. The most powerful eruption came on November 11th when an X5.1 class solar flare, the strongest of 2025, peaked at 5:04 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The flare immediately triggered radio blackouts across Europe and Africa. Wow. The first 2 coronal mass ejections, traveling at different speeds, merged into what scientists dubbed a cannibal storm. Yeah, so essentially there are these 3 ejections from the sun. They all ejected at different times over the span of like 3 days, but some were moving slower. Like the first 2 were moving a bit slower than the third one. And so like the first one was slow, the second one was a bit faster, and then the third one was the fastest. And they all ended up like merging into one giant wave of energy that collided with the Earth all at the same time, which is crazy. 3 separate events moving at different speeds, merging together, and hitting us all at once. So it's this idea of like alignment, right? So 3 separate events occurring at different times, all merging to create this impact that is now affecting us at this exact moment in time. Really cool. Let's see. The third and fastest CME, traveling at approximately 1,500 kilometers per second, arrived November 12th. According to the European Space Agency, multiple CMEs hitting Earth back-to-back increased the storm's severity. Yeah, okay, so triple blast from the sun. I love the title of that section. That's great. So there's definitely this idea of like a surge of disruptive energy, but like disruptive creative energy, because the sun is the ruler of Leo, right? And Leo is the sign of like self-expression and creativity, passion. It's a fire sign. So yeah, this fire, the wands, the element of fire is ever present right now. It is like, yeah, high energy, right? And the sun, it's coming from the sun. It literally is coming from the sun and influencing our environment. So what do we need to know about this like burst of creative energy? Let's see, what can you tell us, Spirit? Obviously it's disruptive, but what else can we know about it? Alright, we got 2 cards there. I'm going to draw 1 more just so we get a little bit of a clear picture. Alright, so we have the King of Wands, now we have the Queen of Wands coming out. Yeah, confidence. So, once again, this super fiery energy. 6 of Cups on the bottom. This says reminiscence. Yeah, it's funny because, like, this idea of these 3 waves of energy all triggering at different times, but then eventually merging together. So it's like a reunion, right? It's like that's what the 6 of Cups is. It's this reunion, reminiscence with the past. It's like the future, the past, the present, all colliding together. Let's see, Ace of Cups, a revival. Yeah, so this surge of energy is a revival of sorts. It's, well, for one, it's literally supercharging the Earth, right? All of this energy is being absorbed by the Earth's like electromagnetic system, and that energy is going to be represented in the Earth somehow. There's a lot of people looking into how solar flares coincide with earthquakes and natural disasters that occur on the Earth, right? So it's like the sun is, you could think of it as the sun is sending out energy towards the Earth, supercharging the Earth's environment or systems, and then that is expressing itself through things like earthquakes, hurricanes, weather, you know, the things that the Earth does. Yeah, and then finally we have the Hermit. Spiritual enlightenment is what it says on the bottom. So this is a very like solitary card. Self-reflection, going deep on something, research energy, right? The number 9 coming through. It's interesting because normally when I think of the Hermit, I always think of the moon. And I do wonder how these solar flares, because we're talking about it impacting the Earth, right? But how does it impact the moon? What does it do to the moon? And what does that mean for us? Because the moon influences the Earth, and the Earth influences the moon. It's like this, you know, it's a relationship. So, yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious to see, like, actually, you know what? That's the great thing about Perplexity, by the way. That's what I'm using to read these articles. It's an AI service that basically takes information from a bunch of different sources and then condenses it. You can dig into the sources if you want. It's really cool. But you can also ask questions about the article itself. So if I wanted to know, say, how does this affect the moon? How does this affect the moon? I can literally just ask it and it will use the context from the article to answer the question. All right, so severe solar storms like the recent triple blast from the sun can have significant effects on the moon's surface, particularly because the moon lacks a magnetic field and a substantial atmosphere for protection. When a powerful solar storm impacts the moon, the high energy particles from coronal mass ejections, CMEs, strike its surface directly. This sandblasting effect can strip away volatile materials, causing hundreds of tons of lunar dust and atoms to be ejected into the lunar exosphere, as observed by sensors on missions like Chandrayaan-2. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but these energetic events can also charge up and even vaporize soil in permanently shadowed regions at the lunar poles, sometimes resulting in tiny explosive discharges within the regolith known as dielectric breakdown. Over time, repeated solar storms erode the moon's surface and alter its thin exosphere, especially during the maximum phase of the solar cycle when such storms are more frequent and intense. We are currently in a solar maximum phase. I'll read that in the rest of the article. Unlike Earth, the moon cannot produce auroras because it has no magnetic field, but it still bears the brunt of solar storm energy, making its impacts on its environment much more direct and destructive. So it is destructive to the moon. And what does the moon represent? Well, our emotions, our internal feelings, right? So, and yeah, with the Ace of Cups here, this is like an upheaval of your emotional structures. So you may be experiencing a lot of emotional energy at this time in some way. Sorry, it sounded like my dog was chewing on something. You can also see Lenny, he's right there next to the door in the bed. He's so cute. They're both chilling in here with me as I do these recordings. Yeah. So, you know, it's not just affecting us, it's affecting the moon too. Very cool. All right, let's read the rest of this article. Let's go back. Widespread aurora displays. So yeah, there's like a brilliant display of energy, which I did not catch this. So let me know in the comments if you got to see the auroras as a result of this, because apparently it went all the way down to like Florida. All right, so the geomagnetic storm produced spectacular aurora displays visible far beyond their typical polar range. Northern lights were reported across much of the northern United States, with sightings as far south as Alabama, Northern California, Florida, and Texas. That's crazy. The phenomenon was visible across the northern hemisphere, with displays reported from coast to coast in North America and throughout Europe. I'm not sure how long this will be going on for. We might be able to see some of it tonight even, but maybe not. We might be past the peak. The sun is currently in the maximum phase of its 11-year activity cycle. Yeah, so it is currently November, the 11th month of the year. So interesting. Yeah, this 11/11 coming through there, which we had the 11/11 portal yesterday. So yeah, 11-year activity cycle, making such intense solar events more common. Space weather experts expect elevated solar activity to continue through the end of 2025, though the exact peak won't be confirmed until months after it occurs. The last geomagnetic storm of comparable magnitude occurred in May 2024, when a G5 level event brought northern lights to unexpected locations and caused navigation outages. Yeah. Excuse me. So, yeah, I think the message is clear. The environment for all of us here on planet Earth is heavily charged with new energy from the sun, and it's going to have impacts on the Earth, the moon, and us. Like everything, right? Like we are literally being bombarded by the energy from the sun right now, and this is like it's unprecedented. It's the most intense geomagnetic storm that's ever been recorded since they started recording it. I think they said in 2012. Yeah, largest geoelectric field recorded in the UK since monitoring began in 2012. So yeah, this is intensity. Yeah. So the balance to that would be self-care and taking it easy, going slow, being patient, realizing that all of this very heavily charged energy is out there and is being spread across the globe, thereby influencing all of us here. So don't forget, we are separate but also one. We are an interconnected system. No man is an island. Those kinds of ideas, right? So, yeah, be gentle. Things are being shaken up. That's what this is telling me. The fault line is shaking up the structures that we have created, and there is some kind of reorganization going on the spiritual, emotional, soulful side of things. So that's exciting. You know, we can take advantage of these kinds of opportunities and utilize these high energetic environments in order to create something good. Like sometimes old structures need to fall away. They, you know, sometimes the only way to get them to change is by, you know, these large energetic events which completely change the landscape. So the best thing to do in order to, one, prevent loss of life, stuff like that, is be aware So that's why we have earthquake monitoring systems, things like that, so that people can be alerted and prepare themselves to get out of harm's way. So don't ignore the warnings if there are, uh, earthquake warnings, storm warnings, anything like that in your area. Take them seriously. Make sure you're prepared. Help others around you to get prepared in case something bad happens or something bad will happen. Um, yeah, see, that's the thing. If you ignore the warning signs, then you're putting yourself in a vulnerable position where, you know, storms kill people. They do. They do. And I know this is this kind of storm. Most people are probably like, oh, it's an electrical thing, whatever. But these do have impacts on like earthquakes and hurricanes and things like that, like I was talking about earlier. Um, so stay alert, take care of yourselves, keep your heart open, and that's all I have for you today. Thanks for being here with me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.